Behind the dazzling success of the Beatles, the songwriting partnership of John Lennon and Paul McCartney stood as one of music's greatest creative forces. But what many fans might not realize is that beneath their seemingly effortless collaboration lay a quiet yet intense rivalry, one that pushed both men to reach extraordinary heights. In their earliest days, long before Beatlemania swept the world, John and Paul would sit together for hours in Paul's modest family home on Fourth Lynn Road in Allerton. They often huddled over guitars or a piano, tossing lyrical lines and chord progressions back and forth, crafting songs in real time. It was a partnership built on mutual respect, shared ambition, and the thrill of discovering just how far they could go musically when working as a team. However, as the 1960s progressed and their individual artistic voices grew stronger, the way they wrote songs began to shift. Rather than composing everything side by side, they started creating more independently. Each would bring nearly finished songs to the studio, inviting the other's suggestions or small tweaks, yet still maintaining a personal stamp on their work. Despite this evolution, every song they penned during their time with the Beatles proudly carried the joint Lennon-McCartney credit, a promise they had made to each other in their youth, long before fame changed their lives forever. Their partnership remained remarkably productive, though under the surface, a creative rivalry simmered. It was the kind of rivalry that didn't fracture their bond but instead served as rocket fuel for their art. Paul would later admit that neither he nor John ever came right out and said they were in competition. But in hindsight, it was clear, whenever one of them came up with something extraordinary, the other felt compelled to respond in kind. Their friendly one-upmanship could even be heard in the way they handled vocal parts. For instance, in the energetic "A Hard Day's Night," John largely shaped the song, but Paul ended up singing the bridge simply because his voice could reach the soaring notes that John found out of range. These sorts of practical choices often masked the deeper undercurrents of their partnership, where each was eager not to be left behind creatively. Paul once reflected that moments of open praise between them were rare. The only instance he could clearly remember was during the Revolver period, when John quietly remarked how much he liked "Here, There and Everywhere." That brief acknowledgement stuck with Paul for decades. He even joked later about how silly it seemed to treasure such a small comment, yet it meant the world because it came from John. On the flip side, Paul considered himself more openly generous with compliments about John's songs, though he admitted it was often easier to voice his admiration after he'd had a drink or two to loosen up.